right, we are back. For the first time, I'm having Matt here. He's coming from France, from far, far away.
Far away?
And we are doing the first time our podcast together, which is crazy.
It's weird though.
Maybe in the future we will do it like this all the time. Maybe one day.
Hopefully. And first of all, guys, hi. I'm one of your hosts, Matt. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. And I'm your co-host, Arda.
Yeah, and we are Yes on the Podcast. Follow us, subscribe, like, follow, do everything. All right.
Well, how are you feeling? How is it going, my friend?
Well, I'm feeling good.
A little tense.
A little tense, you know, also tired.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Jet lags, drugs.
Partying.
Yeah, that's a problem, I guess.
But every time you come to Los Angeles, I think we go out and sometimes it gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
We miss each other.
Yeah, I know.
It was also my birthday, so.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Forgot about that. But it's getting more and more difficult to come into US. You know, like I got like a double screening.
Welcome to Trump's America.
I know, right?
Yeah. How was the border? Did they give you a hard time?
Yes, they did.
What do you mean?
I like the fact that he sent me a message and be like, okay, you know, like, are they going to give you a hard time? And I was like, okay, you know what? I don't think so. Last time it was fine.
I thought they just passed you.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Like I had a second screening. And I think that happened to me once, but like we were 3. Like here when I arrived, like there was like 40 people in front of me. So I don't know if I know it's not Trump, obviously he's not president yet.
Yeah.
But it feels like sometimes, you know, they're definitely pushing for some toughest screening for immigration and some stuff like that.
I mean, America is one of the highest, like I guess the numbers of immigration is the highest for America. I always, like even 9 years ago. Did it?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that some Americans wants to immigrate to Europe. I don't know if that's going to happen. But to be honest, the political climate in Turkey, like I'm from Turkey and it just got really frustrating seeing the same guy for 3 terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the time I was like, okay, this guy is going to mess it up. Like this is like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, I'm feeling the same thing. Like maybe the first time, Trump elected, I didn't really felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the second time, I'm feeling like something's going to happen. Like I think, I also feel like a lot of people might immigrate. Like Americans.
Moving out from the US.
I think so. Like at least we will see some rise, but maybe it's not going to be like as much as other countries.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not sure about that. You know, everybody was talking about, I mean, let's talk about the election, first of all.
Okay.
Trump won for people, just, you know.
Congratulations.
Not really. But but the thing is...
but don't you think it was like fair and square in terms of like American standards of election?
Yes, it was.
Like he won it.
Yeah. I agree. But I think that's the thing. I think about talking about the election in itself, I think it's not just a question about policies. And I think there's a lot of people that are scared about his policies that he, you know, said out loud during the election, and also with Project 2025, stuff like that, right? Which is like basically a guide to fuck it up the whole country and become kind of a fascist country.
Autocrat?
Yeah.
Autocracy.
So yeah, sure. Some people are scared about that, and I totally agree with that. And I made a video about it saying like, yeah, you should be scared. People saying, oh, it's going to be the same as if Kamala was elected. No, that's not true. Absolutely not. But I don't think that's why people voted for Trump, to be honest. I don't think it's just about like, I don't think it's about like abortion, wokeness. I don't think it's about any of that. I think it's just like the reminiscence of economy right before the pandemic. I think it was just that. Like it feels like people were feeling more comfortable. It was easier for them to live like on a daily basis, you know, day to day, less cheaper. So everything was better at that time. And after the pandemic, like went crazy. Prices rising, you know, the economy started to be not that good. Like big company making a lot of money and you struggle to get, you know, on your day-to-day life. And I can still even see that today. Like when I'm going to do the grocery with you, you know, here, it's crazy how much some of the stuff cost. All right.
Yeah.
And I think,
but wouldn't you think some would say that Trump took it from Obama administration, and Obama administration for 2 terms did a really good job with the economy. So he took that. I mean, unfortunately, COVID happened. It was bad for everybody, and for his presidency, it made it hard for him too. Fair, but then Biden took over, and then he took over from Trump when it was COVID.
Mhm.
So he couldn't fix it. So I think the inflation, and they told it even back then that we were going to see the inflation for the coming years, but now he's taking over. So I don't know if it's going to be fixed. I'm not sure or convinced that was Trump that made the economy better.
oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I think it's for people at that time in 2019, they felt like life was easier in some way. That's just what it is. And I think that's just like the solely reason why Trump got elected. I think it's just because of that. Because if we look at the numbers, really, there was less people that voted for Trump this year than the last time that he planned to get elected again.
But he won the popular vote, right?
Yeah, he did, but with less vote than last time. Like he had less votes than the previous time. Same for Kamala. This is one of the lowest numbers of voters, for Democratic Party since, I don't know, a long time. Right? Yeah. So I don't think it's a question about turning out, and I don't think it's a question about like people trying to come up and follow some policies about, Kamala or Trump. I think it's a question about really the state of the world that we live in right now and the economy. And even though like people are saying like, oh, the economy is getting better, jobs numbers are getting better, see, the inflation is going down, I think that's not what people feel on a daily basis. And I think that is the biggest problem over there. And I think this is why they think, okay, Trump, because he's a Republican, maybe he's better at the economy, maybe he can fix the economy. And that's the only reason I think at least half of the people who voted for him, I think that's the reason why he got elected.
And I think also people don't vote in America. I didn't check. I didn't know that Democratic votes are lowest. I suspected it because people sometimes on the left feel comfortable, and I think a lot of people thought, "Oh, Trump is not going to win. Like, there's no way." And I think a lot of people didn't vote. It's like 60%, I think, overall population.
Yeah.
And to me, so low, it means almost the half of the population is not voting.
Yeah, that's true.
And I believe that half mostly feels like left leaning. Like I'm curious about the ratio of that too.
I think it is. I think it is. But the reality is it goes with the same ideas. Like people are just, like there's like this UFO, UAP, things going on. And I'm not diverging, right? I'm just saying like...
Diverge. Let's talk like about UFOs a little bit.
People are excited about that, some people, but a lot of like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like you can give me a fucking alien invasion. I would be like,
fine.
Whatever.
I gotta go work.
Yeah, I gotta go to work still, And I think that's really the state of the people, their mindset right now, being like, it's Trump. Okay, whatever. It's Kamala. Okay, whatever. Does that gonna change something for me? And I think that's obviously a lie, but I think for a lot of people who didn't vote, I think that's how they think, to be honest.
By the way, side note, we're going to talk about politics for the next 30 minutes. So it's going to be this tone, guys. So if you guys are enjoying it, great. Because you're
subscribe.
Getting more. So why do you think I think it's a global thing too. Like I think all over the world, the political scene is really weird. Like I always thought growing up, maybe it was because of the internet, maybe it was because of the science that I felt like there are so many scientific discoveries happening in physics and chemistry, like it's just like crazy. And I always thought, since I was really into it and I really liked learning about those things, I felt like, okay, most people are going to get more left-leaning at some point. But it didn't turn out that. It's almost like there's like a singular, like a 50-50 and then just stay there.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's like this like bride is coming back.
I know why.
Why?
It just, as you were saying, I mean, which I don't think the reason why people voted for Trump was that, but it's still, they got the media and the cultural war. They won the media and the cultural war that they created, actually. They created that. Like if you take and I think it's also a question about the left in general that got weaker in terms of the policies that they really wanted to put out. And they played the same game, with the Republicans, center Republicans too. So I think it's a question about how they envision the economy, the system, the capitalistic system that we are living on. And then on the other side, you get the far right that definitely try to push on, some type of cultural war agenda, being invaded by whatever you want to call it, right? Could be trans, could be Mexican, could be Arabic people, whatever, Muslim. And I think that resonated like everywhere on earth. And I think it still resonates in Europe and it still resonates here. But it's also a question about the failure of the left, 100%.
Because if you look at left and right, especially in America, like they both lean into high tax for like lower income and less tax for higher income. Like I think even left is fine with not giving a lot of tax cuts for the rich.
Agreed.
And they're getting a lot of donations.
Mm-hmm.
So like past few years, I'm pretty convinced that America is kind of like an oligarchy almost. Like they're like rich. And I remember having this conversation with you. Maybe you mentioned that there was a study, I don't know which university was it, but it was basically looking at the legislations that people wanted to happen. And when they kind of wanted it to happen and vote for it, that's not when it happened. It happens when the corporations and the rich and the lobbyists wants it to happen.
Yeah.
And you can see a correlation and maybe even causation. I'm not sure. I remember having that conversation.
I think it was
you.
basically, there was like this study. I don't remember exactly the university. We can find that
in
the link.
We'll Google
it. It's basically saying like if 100% of the people, right, want some specific type of law, there's only like what 20 or 30% of chance that will pass. But and also what was funny is like it was the same amount of chance to also pass, even though 0% of the population wanted that. So it goes both ways. Like that means like whatever the fuck people are interested in, or they want to have specific legislation, they want new laws, or they want something. If it's 0% of the population and 100% of the population, that doesn't change anything. They will pass whatever they want. But on the opposite side, they were saying this is like where people have lobbying, lobbyists and also companies and things like that. Yeah, the chance were like 90% chance to have their law that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think obviously, that is a problem. But it's also a question about culture too at the same time. Like if you go back to this idea of the left, the left was promoting equality about wealth, equity for a lot of things. And the right was more about freedom of themselves and not, playing collective, right? So there's basically those two differences. But I think where the left failed, and especially specifically in that election, is they try to play Trump's game and the far right games in general. In terms of, okay, we're not talking about what can make things better for the people, but we're going to show that we are the best option. By doing that, like you're not bringing forward, the society or law or anything. You're just like trying to reach up to some other people, try to convince them to follow you because you're the best option. I have an example. In France, we had like elections in July, all right? And Macron was like, okay, you know what? I lost the European election. His party came second in France. And it was like, okay, let's decide. So we just dissolved the General Assembly and people had to vote again. And everybody voted, against his party. But for him, during that small time that we had like election going on, they were basically saying like, we are the only option, like you don't want to go with the far right, Le Pen, and obviously you don't want to go with the left either because they will fuck it up the economy and fuck it up the country. So basically they were coming up as, oh, we are the only option, valuable over there. And lost. I mean, don't get me started on it. They didn't have to stay in power, but basically they lost. And I think it was the same with the left, how it was intended now. Like if you take Kamala Harris, like during the election right now, like she did some things that were like almost Republican leaning.
Yeah.
Like pro-war, pro-Israel, pro-economy. And they wanted like the guns, she owns a Glock and things like that. Like they're trying to basically reach for the small population from small towns in the country in the US and forgot everybody that are already leftist, if I would say in some way, and want to change in terms of policies and be sure that there's no going to be fucked up with the abortion. And I think they didn't give a shit. They were like, okay, we need to go and grab the attention of moderate Republican, not people that just vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And I think this is where they lost each other. Like they played the Republican game instead of playing the left's game. And I think that's the reason we are like, oh, we're the only option. And at the end of the day, no, people didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I brought up the oligarchy too, because I believe that there is this like political, like debates and who's going to win and Trump is going to do this and that. Maybe in the social, like it's affecting us negatively. But at the end of the day, I think, and if this is true, it's mostly the rich determining what America is going to be. And I think we are looking at it in a wrong way. We're trying to elect people so those elected people would fight with those and make our lives better, fight against rich and make our lives better. But I think, and this is the hard part, but as long as we don't really organize in some ways, like there are so many companies that are doing messed up things, supporting war, kind of, doing everything that they can do to make poor poorer, and then so they can profit more. And we cannot boycott it. Like we cannot okay, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to consume that. Even in the news, like you were saying, like there's so many news outlet is dividing us, manipulating, make fear mongering. Like there's like so many BS going on. We cannot no, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to stop watching it. And I'm like not going to give them any more money, any more wealth. And that's the hard part. I think I'm trying to do that a little bit for myself, but it is hard. I try to find out for that company if it's like doing bad shit, but yeah, I think
it's not viable. It's the system in itself that I don't know.
We need to stop using everything.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it's the same. It's the same with people saying that, oh, you're for the environment and you want to take care of things, but then why do you fly on the plane?
Yeah.
Or why do you buy an iPhone or something like that? And I mean, you're part of that system. You still live in it. That doesn't mean you should cut out yourself from that completely.
But don't you think it will affect a little bit if we can be more specific? And I'm not boycotting this.
I don't think so.
No,
I think it's not realistic at all. Because
I think we were having this conversation at the some companies that are specifically supporting Trump or certain wars, that their sales are kind of fluctuating at certain times because people are reacting to it. I don't know how much people react to it, but
it's pretty difficult to find numbers on that either because
yeah, you're right.
I mean, at the end of the day, they just want to show that they're doing well.
Profiting, yeah.
Like Starbucks, for example, they don't do that well, but they're trying to reorganize and come up with other products nowadays, blah, blah, blah. So you don't even know if it's because people boycotted Starbucks for a while and then that affected the sales, that affected, their numbers. No idea. That's the thing. You cannot really know about that. And being like, oh, I'll never go there ever again. That's also a lie, because we're used to our habits, and to change on the small scale, which is us, it's really difficult to do that. And then from that, everybody should do it also. It's almost impossible,
Yeah, I mean, if there is no transparency, if you really don't know what's going on behind the curtains, yeah, I mean, it's harder to, I guess, know if you do anything like that will benefit or not.
But what you think about Trump presidency, I just want to go back to that idea.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised, to be honest. The first one, I didn't surprise that much for some reason, but this one, I was like, all right, this guy did so many BS. Like, he's almost like convicted, like, but people wouldn't vote him. That's what I thought, but he won. So it was a big surprise for me. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it's going to affect America. I think it's going to affect more like other countries or the world. Maybe it will affect America in the sense of like, poor getting poorer kind of a situation. I don't think it's going to change much for the lower middle or like lower class. And that they're going to make a lot more money. No, it's not going to happen. But I hope there won't be like a major world conflict. You remember Bashar? So,
oh yeah, my God, Bashar.
So Matt follows Bashar. He likes Bashar. Do you like Bashar? What is Bashar? Let's start there.
Okay. Like we're like yes and no. Bashar is an alien entity.
So there's this guy that channels to his higher self and then talks with an alien consciousness.
Yeah, so an alien connects into his body.
And then people ask questions to him and then he has answers. Yeah. And he's very articulate, very like, I think that's the most amazing thing. Yeah. Like he doesn't like
flinch or anything.
Thought about, he just goes for it. Yeah. It's crazy.
So he just
reflects. He just does something like
so and then, like possessed? Like?
Possessed
kind
by an alien, yeah.
And then some people ask questions and then he just answers it.
But those questions are like, are you asked to a psychic or is it something about the aliens itself?
It both could be about everything.
So
how an alien knows anything about me or like my past? Like,
oh, no, personal. It's not personal question directly.
General.
It's just a general question.
Like, for example, someone asks, like, who's going to win at this elections and what's going to happen kind of a thing. And then he said, if the female wins, we're going to do the first contact with aliens. If the male wins, there's going to be World War III. That's what he said.
It is awesome.
But that's the part. Like, I don't think that's like, of course, there might be a huge war or whatever. I don't really care what Bashar said or not. I don't think there's any predictions that he's doing is like accurate or not. The thing is, I can see where he's coming from. Like if Trump is worse for the world than America.
You think so? I don't think so.
Please,
I think it's the opposite. More. I mean, if you look at, even if you don't take Project 2025, all right, but you take his policies that it kind of reflected throughout the election, which were bad, to be honest. Like there was not really anything listed on it to say, oh, we're going to achieve this or that. No, we're just going to deport immigrants. We're going to take care of the abortion rights. We're going to take, like, those are fucking crazy stuff. And they're already like placing that into the government right now in the Congress. Like, you need to go to the restroom that are assigned to you at birth. So if you're trans, you cannot switch like bathrooms, which I don't care. Like, I don't think it's even a problem, but still, like, this is really peculiar. And I think they're really going to suffer. Those type of people, they're going to suffer. Trans, poor people, immigrants. But I think it's even going to be even worse. And I think that's where, the left failed. They failed those people. They should have pushed, more laws to protect those people. Do more, for those people. They just didn't give a shit at the end of the day. Like throughout, Biden's presidency, they didn't do shit. So that's the problem. And the problem with Trump is like, you think it's going to fuck up the economy in terms of the global, relationship with other people. I don't think that's just the problem. I think it's going to create even more people that are going to be poorer because if you put tariff, inflation, if you say, oh, women are not allowed to, get an abortion after 3 weeks, whatever, they can decide a number, then you're fucked. Then like so many small things that were just acquired through years and years and years, now they'd be gone if he wants. And I think that's the major problem. I think it's something that is going to be problematic for the people in the US, not more just.
Do you think Trump even gives a shit about those things?
I think he does or not.
I don't think he gives it. I think the reason he's doing, talking those, right-wing talking points.
Just to get in power.
Yeah, I think he's like playing to his audience.
I agree, but the problem is like the people that he put in cabinets right now.
Yeah,
or literally people that really think those things are true and should be changed.
But I feel like he will be more, and I agree. I think there's going to be some things that's benefiting those type of opinions, sure. But I think it's not gonna be too much. I think he's gonna be like more selective about those things, because I felt the same way for years.
But there was a problem, dude. There was like a big difference between the 4 years. Like through his presidency, he appointed 3 judges at the Supreme Court. All right, but at the beginning, like there was none. Right, so it was still majority of people that were basically Democrat leaning. Then he changed. Through his presidency, sure. But also in terms of the Congress, like one of the 2 parliament was like Democrat, in majority. Here he has like every majority for everything. Like the Supreme Court, like the Congress, the Senate, everything is majority Republican. So he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like for the next 2 years, at least, before changing, having like election for the parliaments, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And I think that's what's scary, because like if you really follow the people that are close to him, which are his best ally, that the guy, who was always, they were always following him, always, whatever the problem was, they're pretty scary too. And I think that's what scares me the most. I don't think like imposing tariffs to other countries is going to solve any problem for the US or even other countries, to be honest. Like we saw that with Russia and Germany. I don't think their economy crashed. Like we thought the Russia economy was crashing. It didn't really that much. It's still struggling. It doesn't change that much. But in Germany, it's the same. The economy is not good, but it's the same as everywhere else.
Like it almost feels like he gave confidence to Putin. Like he was like, "Hey, my friend, like I'm getting close."
Yeah.
And I feel like Putin was like, "Yeah, I mean,
don't touch me.
I think maybe I can, like attack and see what's gonna happen." And America is supporting Ukraine, but still, like Putin is going all in. Nothing is happening.
I know.
Same thing in Middle East.
I mean, yeah. In terms of changes in the US, sure.
Like he moved the capital to Jerusalem. And I was like, fuck, like that's going to make things even more complicated. Like imagine you are a Palestinian, you're already like Israel is so strong. So you're like powerless in some sense. And now they got Jerusalem full control. I feel like it would feel like a huge defeat.
I'm going to tell you something. I think, Trump was always like that about, being grandiose, being huge. This guy cannot lose anything and just can win, right? And I think he tried to do that as much as he could during his first presidency, trying to shake hands with North Korean leaders, dictators, and be like, okay, I'm happy with everybody, like we can be friends and things like that. So I think it was a way for him to prove to the world that he was this high guy, high stake. He could lead and he could show some stuff. And I think it was also, with the wall, the border and shit like that. It was kind of, something, an idea in order to people be like, wow, they're excited about something happening. But the problem that I have is right now, he doesn't have anything like that, Like the only thing that he gets is like creating concentration camps to deport migrants, which is fucking scary, first of all. And I think he will do some fucking stupid shit to prove that he's grandiose, as I said.
The MAGA?
To MAGA or not, he doesn't give a shit. I think it's just to prove to the world that he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And through the first presidency, he was kind of communication and advertising for himself. Here, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, for real.
Do you think he got some lessons from the first presidency and he's not going to repeat those?
No.
On the second? No, I think he's going to go for it.
And this is where, like, for me, I think he's more dangerous than even Putin when we're talking about Putin, in that sense. Because you don't know what he can do. And he changes his mind every 2 seconds. And I think that's the scary part. And people will be like, oh, well, the Democratic would have changed anything. I don't think he would have not changed anything. I agree. And it's a bad thing that actually things would have not changed. But here, they're so so much uncertainty about, his mandate that you don't even know what's going to happen in 2 years. Like in 2 years, no idea what's going to be the US looking like. Absolutely not.
Like if we will see him trying to get control on certain media outlets and trying to manipulate news, because Elon Musk is like,
dude, they already
so
did
close.
that.
Yeah. So, and then because in Turkey, the prime minister did a similar thing. So they win the first election and the second election, and then you can see that they were starting to control the media, the news outlets. They were really good at fear mongering. They started to control education. They also made a lot of people rich that was close to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most messed up thing was
France is the same.
He somehow managed to stay longer. And that's, I think, the time that I was like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
So if you see Trump doing like a third time election thing, try to pass that.
But you understand it's going to be too late at that point.
I know it's going to be too late.
That's what I'm saying.
But people they're not aware of it, I think.
I think, yeah, there's a question about awareness.
Like a lot of people who support him might be actually like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool by me.
Yeah.
But they don't see the autocracy there. They don't see the importance of your leaders should change in a certain
they should be changed
amount of time.
Of course, I agree.
I think it's an interesting evolutionary psyche too. I think looking for a leader has very fundamental thing in our neurology too. Because I remember, like, you can justify looking for a leader or following someone from an evolutionary point of view too. Like, because you don't spend the time and the energy you need to spend to figure out something. You have a leader and he's going to figure it out for me. I'll follow him because I trust this guy. And I think that can be really dangerous if you don't really know your leader. It could be a good leader. It could be a bad leader. And I'm using the leader in the sense of like a follower. You have followers,
I agree.
a leader, right? But yeah, I mean,
throughout 20th century, like usually when there was like one leader, it really never ended up really well for anybody.
Yeah.
Because like even if we talk right now about like Russia, for example, they're trying to say to the world like, oh, we have another system, our system is different and things like that, whatever. Still, the reality in terms of the economy, not good for people on a daily basis that are living in Russia. I don't think they have like a pretty good life, Okay, sure, is it a good leader, Putin, for some of them? The reality is like, does that change anything for them in their life? Absolutely not.
I think people also have, maybe it's a little bit intuitive, but when you have multiple leaders, the decision making is a little bit harder. You need to sit down, you need to talk about it, you need to investigate, you have experts, they talk about it, you weigh things. But you have one leader, they say like, okay, we're doing this, and then you do that. And I think people fall into this sense of like, I need a dominant leader. I need this one guy so influential that he's going to say something, it's good, it works for all of us, and I want to vote for that guy. I don't know. But then it's not healthy. But
even on top of that, it's not healthy.
But it's fast.
But then you dismiss like half of the people.
Yeah, you do. But I think they don't see that. I think it's kind of like a power and control thing. The sense of like, I want the things that I want to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Like there's no weighing or investigating or trying to understand. Like, is this really a good thing?
I don't know.
So I don't know. Like Trump always giving me that feeling, and this election I felt the same way with Erdogan or Putin, like that kind of a vibe, that this is like a very charismatic leader and people might want him to do a third term. Yeah.
Does it make it like the leader's fault or the people's fault?
People's fault, 100%. But we'll see if that's happened. Really.
I'm going to tell you something.
People like to be sheep.
But that's the thing. And I think they don't like that. I don't think they like to be sheep. I think we make them think that it's good to be a sheep. You know the difference? You understand the difference here? I think the media and every source of powers, they're trying to push the idea of people that, oh, if we give power to that guy, your life is going to be better. So just shut the fuck up, vote for that guy, and then you'll be good. And I think this is where they decide to become sheep. And the problem is like,
I don't think they don't decide though.
But that's
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying.
there is no decision.
But they're influenced. That's what I'm saying. They're influenced by that.
Yeah, but decision means a conscience aware choice of like, oh, I'm being a sheep.
Yeah, I know.
I think, as you said, they're influenced, but they're not like, I don't think they're aware of.
I agree. Absolutely not. And everything about that is just to protect the system that the people up there want to keep. That's it. Like, it's their interest, it's their money.
Yeah, they want to feel secure. That's their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they convince people that, hey, if they don't follow what they're doing, things are going to be really bad. Maybe it's immigrants, maybe it's LGBTQ plus, maybe it's the wokeness, maybe it's the left. And at the end of the day, what they want is just a status quo for themselves. I'm talking about billionaires, people in powers. That's it.
Like yesterday, I was talking with a friend and she told me something that was hard to wrap my head around, but I mean, I believe her. So her dad was like a left-leaning guy. And she was saying like, my dad was one of the smartest people I know. Like he's very intelligent. I always had great conversations with him.
Mm-hmm.
And after some age, like there was a point he become like right. Full on like Trump, all the right talking points like abortion or against transgenders, gay rights, feminine, like women's rights, everything was changed. And it's really, really interesting to me, like how someone can switch from like that much though, like not even like leaning in the center, like going back and forth. And I think that switch is very important. Like when she told me that, I was like what happened though? Like there has to be a moment of, and I think the way that she put it, like the way that Democrats were doing politics, I think he lost trust into their word in some ways. And there was a point, I guess, a lot of things as the media, because she was saying like he started to consume so many internet things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that information, that bad information, like if you don't eliminate the BS,
mm-hmm.
lies or not factual things, you can really lean into that. And I think that can create fears too, worries and fears. And that once you tap into that, you can easily manipulate people. And I think people like Trump doing it really well.
But as I said, it's also a question about being bored at the end of
being
the day.
What?
Bored by things,
okay. Yeah.
Like what people want. Enough money to go to do their things, not be instrumentalized to something that they don't want to do. They want to be chill in their own happiness. They can be with their group of people, their friends, and themselves. And that's it. That's what counts the most for them, right? And if you're trying to bring up factors like, oh, those people are going to take something out of you, or they're pushing something for you to change, that's what scares people. Because all those things about trans, gender and immigrants in general, it's always playing on that same fear as you were saying. But it's about like, oh, you'll need to do something, you will need to change, or you're being attacked personally. Because at the end of the day, no, people just want to have enough money to go to their grocery, buying a TV, watching, Netflix, and maybe going on vacation, but also pay for their utilities, and medical problems. And the thing is, we create a system saying that, oh, you don't have the choice for any of those. You need to pay for it anyway. And we cannot really change that because the economy. And that's it. And so, on the other hand, you have like Trump and other guys, and you're like, yeah, but I know why actually. It's not just the economy, it's because of those people and that people and these guys, or because this. And you see, they're trying to, look, they're there and they're trying to influence you to change and not be like you were happy before, something like that. And I think that's the scary part. And this is where the left fucked up. The left should have been like, okay, let's try to get Medicare for everybody, for example. Here.
Yeah, I mean,
like let's try
that's
to
the
get
thing.
some reform that are more social, that change. Maybe we should do some change in the economy in order to push not an agenda, but something that will make everybody better on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, they were like,
But they're not going to do it because they're getting
I know, that's
donations
the
of
thing.
support from the
It
rich.
goes
too.
back to that. I agree. But this is where like media influence and also people got scared because you need to find a scapegoat, and that's what they did.
So what do you think about, like, where are we going with all these politics happening, and do you see some kind of a solution, at least for yourself, that I think this should be a stand, at least this is my stand, and I think this is important to change our minds about?
I think it's a question about critical thinking at the end of the day. Because like one of the things, as kind of people were saying, my mom was always saying that I was an anarchist or something, like going against the system and the people. Like one of the things that you can see that through years and cycles repeating itself is people that are basically neoliberal capitalism. When they're losing ground, they will choose far-right policies and dictators than just going against their own interest. And for me, that's exactly what's going on right now. If you take a look at the election in Europe, most of Europe, right, here in the US, most of the world, like you see that those guys who has a lot of money, they don't want change that are more social for people, and they're gonna be impacted about that in terms of maybe they got to get more taxed or something like that. There's going to be more tax on their companies. They don't want that. So they prefer going to some people that are straight up fucking racist and shit like that because it's easier for them. So where are we going from there? I don't know. Hopefully, it's the end of the...
What do you mean? What do you mean the end?
Of the neoliberal capitalism that we are living for the past 40, 50 years.
I think the end of the neoliberal economy.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going to.
Yeah.
Because at one point, like, we're going to crash down. Either people are going to be pissed off and then they're going to maybe rise up a little bit. Mm-hmm. So there might be some changes. Or maybe people are going to be so poor that it's going to be total destruction for everything. Or maybe there's going to be a huge war. And at the end of the day, like, there will have to be a new change of system that we're living in.
I mean, I can see that. I think like we have so many good models too in terms of socialist, capitalist, hybrid economies. Mm-hmm. Like, I think one of the things so frustrating to me, and I'm keep hearing that, and it might be the media, might be some BS stuff on internet, like socialism and capitalism, like there are so many varieties of those systems. Mm-hmm. It's not just one or other. Like you can have full-on socialist communist system, you can have full-on neoliberal capitalist. It's about ownership. Like, is the people owning the things, or is it like private ownership, or if it's like government owns everything? And in America, there are things that government owns. It's mm-hmm. less maybe. And in China, there are some things that privately owned. Mm-hmm. It's not full-on capitalist. And if you go to Europe, I mean, you can see the same thing. If it's education, if it's health, some schools are public schools, some is private school. That's the thing, like, some education. So I think that's a weird thing that people don't get that still,
I think this is where, critical thinking comes into play. Because the reality is, like, the people that own the media are the people that wants to pass law that are protecting themselves. And that's where you can see. So the problem is, like, people watching the media today, because I think that's just a question about media. Whatever it is, TikTok or whatever media source you're getting from TV or internet news, whatever. I think you need to step back for a second and be like, okay, does that totally make sense in that context?
But I want to add something to that. I think critical thinking of that for sure, but also their emotional response to that too.
Of course.
Like, why am I scared of this? Is this really a worrying thing for me? Yeah. Because sometimes you give information to people, accurate information, but still the bias, still the sense of like, oh, that's other, and it's not my type of person, can really put people into a mindset that like their critical thinking is gone. Because when the emotions are up there, you don't really critically think it at that point. Maybe for me, like I hope one day people can see this as a human thing, like we all coming from somewhere and we are more similar than different. And I think I hope we will stop having this sense of other. Oh, that's not like me. That's not like me. So I can never live with this person or work. I think that's something I hope people can critically think and come over.
And I think we can, guys.
I think we can too.
All together. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until then, just pay attention to what you're looking at. Like, not check the source because we were like, oh, check the source. Like, you can go online and check source, and it's just bad. But just think about like, what is the message that is trying to be transcribed? Can I find something that goes against that idea? And I think this is already, you can ask yourself some question about whatever you're consuming.
Yeah, instead of blaming other, just do whatever you can for yourself and try to learn and understand. Do your best, I guess.
I mean, until then, guys, you can follow us on social media everywhere. Yes and no podcast. On YouTube, please like, subscribe so we can do more. Maybe we can see each other even more next time.
Yeah, if you have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Please. All right.
They should send questions.
Our crew is growing too, you know. We have a new director, producer, marketing, editing, all things person.
Yeah.
Mine.
All in one.
Mine.
Don't forget to comment. Even on Spotify now, you can see the video of this and you can comment there. So please interact with us.
Yeah.
We need support. And it's always nice to see you.
It was great to see you too. I'm glad that you're here and we did it together. Face to face.
Face to face.
Face off. Bam!
All right. I was your host, Matt.
And I was your co-host, Arda.
See you next time in the next episode of Yes or No
Podcast.